I often get asked as a former college coach for my recommendations in terms of the recruiting process. And it's actually a very extensive list. Start the process early in terms of identifying your schools, your fit, and what the requirements for those schools are. We also would encourage you to develop a comprehensive checklist and chart of a number of these key items that I'll go through, and you'll also be able to reference those on our website and keep track of that checklist, stay on top of it to make sure that you're getting your requirements done. The video, full game video is a big part of that, and you should start to accumulate your full game video early in your career so that you can start to spark interest and really help determine your level based on the responses you get from colleges. And that process of determining your level is really key because it will enable you to, again, be able to fit your plan into what those schools and coaches are requiring from you during the process. I would also step back and take this process also from a perspective of assuming that you won't play or that the coach at the school that's recruiting you or schools that are recruiting you are not going to be there, which is actually a common issue these days in terms of coaches changing, situations where coaches are getting fired. The whole stability of the coaching profession has really dropped in terms of a coach actually being guaranteed to stay there during your 4 full years. So you really need to make sure that you fit yourself in as a student first and then as an athlete beyond that. Set your sights realistically. Make sure you're honest with yourself during the process based on the feedback you're getting. For example, when you post your video on Recruiting Sports Network, your dashboard will show which schools have viewed your video. If you're not hearing from those schools, maybe drop your sights a little bit to the next tier of schools, not necessarily academically, but maybe in level of play, and then utilize your links that we provide you to get that information out to that next level of school. Be aware of the rules, both NCAA recruiting rules to make sure you're not putting yourself in jeopardy of a violation, but also really key things on the academic side, one of which is the NCAA is tightening up their academic eligibility requirements starting with this year's freshman high school class. And it's really been elevated to a higher level. You have to meet those requirements progressively as you go through high school in terms of your core courses, the grades you achieve in those. So you really need to get on your academics and really be aware of those, those requirements every step of the way. And also the NCAA clearinghouse is key in this process as well. You have to register with the clearinghouse, get your clearinghouse number, make sure that you're timely submitting your information to the clearinghouse so that you can get cleared eligibility-wise as early as possible, so it's not dragging on even to the point where once you enroll in college, you're not cleared by the clearinghouse. Can become a problem if you don't stay on top of that. Through our site, you also have the ability to upload your academic transcript, which from a college coach standpoint is very, very important. College coaches will not continue to recruit athletes without that because they feel like they may be wasting time based on just word of mouth representation of academic achievement. They really need to have the actual documentation. So get that uploaded on to our site as quickly as possible in the hands of the coaches, and then you can update it as you go through your high school academic career. You should apply to schools early and even to schools that are not recruiting you because you have to cover all your bases to ensure that, number one, the most important thing is that you're accepted to college, in a college of your choice, not delaying your career academically, and then the athletics will follow from that. So you should select your colleges, again, based on your academic interest, your preference in terms of comfort level with the school, and then the athletic portion should dovetail into that. But it's very key that you get that application process done, again, even if schools are not recruiting you, but you have an interest in those schools. You should be very persistent in this whole process, though, on the athletic side. Make sure that you're following up with schools, adjusting your sites, getting your information out to those schools through our site, and staying on top of them to get feedback. Contact them directly via email, phone, have your coaches contact them to follow up to get a read on where you stand from an athletic standpoint, but always be proactive. Don't sit back and wait for things to happen, because that will enable you to utilize the feedback you're getting or even the feedback you're not getting to determine, where you're best fitted, where your level is. Because while I talk about the importance of academics, athletics is also key, because you spent so much time and effort to date. You have a passion for your sport, and I would always encourage athletes to go to a school where they're going to play and play a lot versus sitting on the bench somewhere. Even if you're in basketball going to the Final Four every year, your athletic experience and happiness is probably not going to be at the same level if you're not playing versus if you're playing at kind of a lower level school in terms of a level of play, but also getting the opportunity to play a lot. And I base it not just on my coaching experience, but on my experience as an athlete in college as well. In terms of the details, in finishing up this process, you have to make sure that financially, especially if you're going to a non-scholarship school, but even scholarship schools now are requiring that you complete your FAFSA, which is basically your financial aid forms. Tied to that is the requirement that your parents get their tax returns filed as early as possible in that year in which you're applying to. So that's very closely related to the FAFSA. So you kind of need to make sure that you push that both as an athlete and a parent to make sure that's happening quickly. And then obviously your SAT and ACT process is very key. Make sure that you take those tests early. If your high school has a prep program, or if in fact you can afford to pay for a preparation program, that's really, really key in terms of your score and your comfort level in taking that test, because it will give you the level of knowledge in terms of subject matter, but also you'll get a lot of practice in taking the test. And that's going to be a big determinant, not just in terms of your ability to be accepted at the schools of your choice, but maybe allow you to get accepted to a higher level academic school if that's what your goal is, as well as qualify for more financial aid. The last piece is go to a school where you feel comfortable in terms of the people, the atmosphere, the social setting. Talk to people when you're there. Talk to the athletes, spend time with the athletes, talk to the other students, because you're going to be spending 4 years at this school, ideally, and it has to be a place where you really do have a comfort level on all fronts, not just academically and athletically, but socially, and just make sure that you fit in and have that comfort level there. So take your official visits, take your unofficial visits, just stop by unannounced, even talk to alumni and even students that you may know that have transferred out of that school to try to determine what their issues were with it. So you really get the pluses and the minuses, get the full perspective on the school.